Hey there, welcome to Coffee Break Plans. It's that time of year when planner season is fast approaching and we all need to decide what it is we're getting next year. When I did my mid-year review, I had an idea that I was going to change some things up for next year and I had sort of some vague possibilities. But today I'm going to make a call on what it is I'm going to use and I'm going to actually choose it. So starting with the easy stuff this time and heading up to the harder stuff, my 5-year diary. This one is an absolute no-brainer. I'm 3 years into this. I will have 2 more years to run. There is no pressing need to use it for 5 consecutive years, but I am enjoying this form of brief daily journaling, so I will keep going until all 5 years are up, all going well. I'm using a Sterling Ink 5-year diary in caramel. Next up is my Commonplace book. This is an LT 1917 in Rising Sun. This is one of my favourite types of notebooks, which I use all the time. It's an A5 dotted cream pages, or ivory pages, I think they're called, and with the little 5mm dots. This is where I write down various quotes from books and movies, and it's all kept noted in the index at the front with a little key here as well. There is heaps of room to go in here, so I will keep this going for probably what looks like the next couple of years at least. Okay, we are into my reading journal. I did a separate mid-year review video for this journal on its own, simply because I had a few things to think about and look at, and I also wanted to do a flip through. I've been in this Archer and Olive 8x8 square notebook for the last 3 years, and it is going to be full by the end of this year, so I need to look at something else. Now, I was looking at a range of different notebooks to start off my next reading journal in. I have this, I think it's called Leaves. This is a notebook from Archer and Olive. So there's quite a lot of pages in there. They are white dot grid note paper. It's A5 size. And I have thought about this becoming my reading journal for 2027. I had an option of another two, and these are traveler's size notebooks. I have used it a little bit this year as a little bit of a memory keeping book, but there, as you can see, there are heaps of pages left that are unused. And the same thing with this notebook. The vast majority of this is still unused, and I've decided to go with this one. So I'm going from one extreme to the other. I'm going from this big notebook to a little notebook, and that's okay. The reason for really going with these is I'd like to move some of these notebooks that are partially used off my to be used shelves and onto my done shelves. It doesn't bug me that I've used some of the pages at the start and I'm just going to suddenly change its purpose to a reading journal. Once that would have, but these days it just doesn't. It bugs me more to have unused notebooks sitting around on my shelf for years at a time, just getting in the way. I need to tidy up the stuff that I have. I've started introducing a use it or lose it policy for absolutely everything in my house. I'm also planning on having a much simpler reading journal next year to focus more on the notes for each books rather than the large scale trendy spreads that I thought I needed to do. I'm just going to focus more on the books in this. And I will be doing a setup video for that later on in the year, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested in what will likely be a very minimal reading journal setup. I'll be doing that later on. Okay, we're now on to my daily planner. I'm using a Sterling Ink A5 full year in Tweed. Basically what this planner is it gives you a day per page. You have a time scale down the left hand side if you want to use it, and you have room to do a daily entry every single day. And I use it to do just that. In addition to those journal entries, I have time tracking, I have meal tracking, I have photos, I also have my sleep tracker in the back. It takes 15 to 20 minutes per night to fill this out. I am still enjoying the process at the moment, but I have no interest in keeping it going next year at all. I do want to keep up with daily journaling, but on a much reduced scale. I think it would be handy to have some extra pages as well, but not too many, and that's not a deal breaker if it doesn't have them. So for my daily journaling, I'd like to do it on a much reduced scale. I've been thinking about using the Sterling Ink Common Planner in the horizontal layout. So there's a couple of options for this. If we go down and look at the Common Planners, and then you click over on the horizontal layout, There's a range of, well, there's some few sizes there. So let's have a look at this one just for argument's sake. And we're just going to scroll down to see what the layouts are. So you get your yearly calendar as you do with all of them. You have a goal breakdown. There is a yearly tracker, quarterly tracker, and a monthly layout, as well as the weekly layout, which is actually what I am after for this. On the left-hand side, you have the 7 days of the week, and there's room for a short entry. And then on the right-hand side, there's a blank page for all the extra space that I need if I need it. But the unfortunate thing about the Common Planner, or the fortunate thing, depending on how you are, is that there is a lot of things that I don't necessarily need to use. And I'm trying to reduce the pressure on myself to use every single page, particularly when it comes to your notes pages and the monthly layouts that I'm not going to use. I can probably make use of the yearly and quarterly trackers. The good news is that Sterling Ink also has other products. That could be what I'm looking for. So if we come back up here and look at the planners, and we have the booklets, and you can get weekly booklets. They come in two sizes and in 2 layouts. If we go to the horizontal layout, which is what I'm after, got an N1 size, which is a traveler's notebook. It's a little bit narrower than an A5 slim, so still a decent sized book. You get your yearly tracker, you get the weekly layout, which is exactly what I want, and the notes pages, some very few notes pages. But the meat of it is the weekly layout here, which is what I actually need for my daily journaling. Now, we all know that Catherine revises her products each year. So last year she introduced 2 completely new planners, the Complete Planner and the Core Planner. And the year before that it was the Daily Planner. So she may be looking at introducing some additional types of planners this year. So what I'm going to do is wait until the pre-release videos, which come out, I think, I can't remember, somewhere around August. The release is in September. But when I look at those videos, I will then decide on what my options are then and make a final choice. Okay, now we're on to my Franken planner, which is the big one. It's the one that I use by far the most. I'm not going to go through this in detail. I have my future log, I have my lists, I have my notes, I have a personal calendar, I have my creative calendar, and I also have a stress management calendar. I look at every single one of those calendars every single day. I hardly ever use every single piece of it. So, for example, my well-being, this is my current week. Yes, as a matter of fact, I am recording this back in May. We're actually on this day here. I've done 3 days, and these 2 are blank. I'll probably fill this out tonight and this because I've just reminded myself I need to do it. But sometimes I just don't use it all. If I go back to one of my creative calendars, I don't actually use every single box. And the same thing with my personal calendars. If I'm not using every single box, every single space, there's a lot of waste here. So I really do want to simplify this down. It's been great to have them all separate while I sort out what system's going to work best for me. And with all that empty space, it left me the room to move stuff around and test things out. But after a year or so, I really do know what it is I need. I think I need one single weekly layout with enough space to plan these 3 areas, but all on the same week. And do you know what? Happy Planner just happens to have a layout just like that I can use for these things. So a vertical layout. So each row is allocated to one of the 3 areas. My cat has come to supervise. What you doing, sweetie? She doesn't like the script. So each row is allocated to one of those 3 areas that I used to have in an entire separate calendar. There'll be plenty of space. I can color code if I want. I actually have some stickers somewhere that I can use. And about the only other thing I use in a weekly is my weekly task list, which will fit perfectly down here. And of course I have my goals section in my what's still called creative, but is actually my project section. They can be tidied up and reduced down a bit. The final section of my Franken planner is my work section. I keep it back here to keep it separate from everything else and vice versa. But I am going to move it completely out of this planner and put it into these little Travelers Company notebooks that I purchased. I actually got this from the Queenstown, I think it's called Queenstown Stationery. So all the way from the bottom of the country, where I'm sure there's probably half a dozen suppliers closer. But that's where I found them online, and they sent them up, and they're beautiful little notebooks. There are some very high quality stationery at that shop that I cannot anywhere near afford, but it was nice to look. So without my work section, with my goals and creative section consolidated down, and with these three calendars all consolidated down into one, I can probably move down into medium-sized discs. And not only that, I can probably just pick a planner off the shelf, like this one in fact, and use that as it is. Of course, I will change things around to suit my style. I'll have my lists and stuff at the front, I'll have my goals, etc. at the back, but the planner itself is just a plain off the shelf vertical happy planner layout, and that should fit what I'm doing next year perfectly, so I don't have to do too much work on it. So I could go one better and buy a brand spanking 2027 dated happy planner off the shelf, and then I don't even have to date anything or redate anything. But I actually already have at least 2 years worth of vertical layouts in some way, shape, or form. So it really seems stupid to buy another relatively expensive planner, ship it all the way down to the bottom of the world when I already have two or three right here that I could pick up and use straight away that are perfectly good. I do have some stickers that have come with various Happy Planner packs over the years, and I know I have at least a year's worth of dates. So dating or redating a planner is relatively simple. There's a little bit of faffing around, but I actually enjoy planning. Surprise! So a weekly decision on what theme I'm going to use and what colour palettes I would use would drive me crazy. But the functional parts of a planner, sorting them out, including dating pages, that kind of stuff, I don't mind and I'm happy to do it. Now, fear not, people, I will do a video on picking out and setting up my 2027 Franken planner, and I'll do that later on this year. So with that, that's all of it. That is me planning to do some planning. Have a great week, and I will see you next time.